Driss is driving his boss Philippe around Paris late at night. Driss speeds up when waiting and traffic gets tedious. He drives really quickly, evading other cars and ignoring traffic signs. The police chase after him because of his speed, and Driss wagers €100 that he can lose them. But after driving beneath a bridge, the policemen catch up by ambushing them from both sides. Driss doesn't seem too bothered though. This time, he wagers €200 that he can find them an escort. The police instruct him to get out of the car, and he starts acting as if he is insulted and saying that Philippe can't move and he was transporting him to the hospital. The officers uncover proof of this when they find the wheelchair in the truck and see Philippe convulsing, which is also an act. Because it's an emergency, the police let Driss off the hook for speeding and offer to drive him to the hospital. Driss plays September by Earth, Wind, and Fire to celebrate winning the bet. When they get to their location, he smokes a cigarette with Philippe right away. Driss says he'll take care of it and takes them away just before the medical staff can locate them. This bond started a long time ago. Philippe and his helper Magali are interviewing people to locate a new caretaker for him, but it's not going well because all of the applicants provide extremely typical or embarrassing responses to their queries. But they're shocked when Driss bursts in, even though it's not his turn yet. He just wants some papers to sign claiming they won't hire him, so he can obtain unemployment benefits. He is impolite and direct, even hitting on Magali, but Philippe thinks he is funny and invites him to come back the next day to sign the documents. Driss travels home to a poor neighborhood and tries to take a bath as his little brothers and sisters bother him. He only gets it done in time because his sister Mina, who is a little older and more responsible than the rest, helps him. He glances out the window while he waits for his mum to get there and sees his brother Adama getting out of a car that seems strange. The boy goes into the flat, says he was at school, and then departs again after getting his bag. This makes Driss even more suspicious that he's up to something. His mom comes home in the evening, and he brings her a Faberge egg he stole. When she asks where he's been, he says he's been on vacation. She isn't delighted to see him, though, because he left for 6 months and never phoned. Now he just shows up out of the blue, like her house is a hotel. She pushes him out and warns him not to come back since she's had enough of his lies and has other kids to take care of. Driss spends a night with several pals from the neighborhood, smoking and eating food. The next day, Driss goes back to Philippe's house to retrieve his paperwork. Yvonne, the housekeeper, welcomes him and gives him a tour of the house. She also informs him about Philippe's everyday life and shows him the room he would have with his own bathroom. Driss can't help but look at the bathtub before he's taken to visit Philippe, who gives him a signed piece of paper and a job offer. Philippe informs Driss that he wagers he won't last more than a week during the 1-month experiment. Driss learns how to take care of Philippe after he brings his things to his room. He needs to learn how to keep his legs moving, how to get him in the wheelchair, and how to help him shower and change his clothes. Driss gets uncomfortable when he finds out he has to put on high stockings and wipe Philippe's, but after he uses the bathroom. He complains and claims he won't do those things, but he ends up doing them anyway as part of his work. Later that night, as he's on the roof eating a snack, Philippe's daughter Elisa and her boyfriend Bastien come up and ask him for a private place to kiss. He tosses them both out after refusing to share his beer. Driss rapidly learns the daily routine with Philippe, even though he makes some mistakes at first that he learns from, such giving Philippe the phone instead of putting it on his ear, or forgetting the baby monitor while taking a bath. He also learns how to sort his mail into different categories. Most of the letters he opens are for Philippe, but there are some private ones he can't look at. He sees a leaflet for female escorts and decides to keep it instead of tossing it away, like Philippe recommends. Driss still has fun in his new life, though. He keeps attempting to hit on Magali, but doesn't get anywhere, and sometimes he summons escorts to join him in bed. One morning, Yvonne goes to his room to tell him he's late, and she finds several dangerous weapons in his suitcase, but she doesn't say anything about them yet. Driss' job today is to transport Philippe around, but he won't let him ride in the back of a van like cargo. Instead, he takes him in one of the beautiful cars that don't get used very often. Philippe doesn't think this is a good idea at first and says they should be practical, but he quickly gets enthusiastic about the notion of a speedier, less boring ride, even though Yvonne still doesn't like it. A neighbor is parked at their door when they want to leave, even though the notice on the door states it's not allowed. Driss doesn't waste any time. He goes after the guy, grabs him by the front of his shirt, and threatens him until he moves the car. Philippe is impressed by what he did, but Yvonne doesn't like again. Philippe and Driss travel to a museum, where Philippe plans to buy a piece of art that Driss thinks isn't worth the money because it's simply a red spot on the campus. Later, Philippe talks to a family member who informs him that everyone is frightened about Driss because he can be violent. Philippe doesn't care that Driss has a criminal record. He likes him since he doesn't feel sorry for him and doesn't mind making fun of him. Driss tries to hit on Magali again, but fails. He has dinner with Yvonne in the kitchen as Philippe writes a letter to Magali. Yvonne says it's a private chat and switches off the baby monitor. Then she goes on to describe what's going on. Philippe writes letters to a woman named Eleanor. Those are the letters he didn't let Driss see. But he has never met Eleanor in person. Their friendship is only through letters. Driss makes fun of Yvonne for the way the gardener looks at her all the time before bed. He hears strange noises coming from the baby monitor while he's attempting to sleep. Philippe is having problems breathing. Driss goes to his room and carefully talks him through the assault with soothing words and a wet cloth to clean his face. He can't ignore him even if he tries. Philippe finally falls asleep, but wakes up a few minutes later and says he needs oxygen. This time, Driss doesn't think twice. He puts Philippe in a wheelchair, covers him with blankets, and takes him for a walk by the river. Philippe hasn't been to Paris at night in a long time, and now he's more calm. He tells Driss that the drug can only do so much, and that he sometimes feels phantom agony. Philippe also admits that he can't please a woman because of his circumstances, but he may still get some pleasure when someone massages his ears because they are sensitive areas. Driss gives Philippe one of his joints when the phantom agony threatens to come back. Philippe is unsure at first, but he ends up liking it. Then they go to a restaurant where they eat and joke around. Philippe begins to tell more of his story. He met his wife when they were in school. Soon after they got married, she suffered 5 miscarriages and was told she had an incurable, deadly illness. That's when they took Elisa in. Philippe has always liked competitions, extreme sports, and speed, and a paraglider gave him all of those things. Bad weather forced him to crash while paragliding and damage his vertebrae. He still thinks that his biggest problem isn't the chair but living without his wife. Philippe remembers the date after they joke about some more. He realizes that Driss has passed his 1-month trial and is now officially hired. But first he needs to return the Faberge egg he took. It was a present from his wife, and she gave him one every year. He has exactly 25, which is how long they were together. The next day, Driss talks to Mina as she's leaving school. She's a little upset since he hasn't been answering her messages, save to beg her to seek for the egg. She also tells him that some cops have been phoning their house. Then he goes to see Adama, who admits that he had 30 grams on him. Driss offers to take him out to lunch, but Adama says no and gets back into the same automobile that seemed strange before. Driss is allowed to be there when Philippe tells Magali how to write a letter to Eleanor later on. He finds this purple prose quite boring and thinks Philippe should be more straightforward. He is also confused that they have been doing this for 6 months without sending each other images. He sees her phone number on one of the letters and takes it as a sign to call her. This forces Philippe to pick up the phone and eventually talk to her in person. Philippe talks to her all the time now, even immediately before he and Driss go to the opera. Driss laughs and makes fun of the clothes during the show. Driss talks Philippe into sending Eleanor images the next day. He picks one showing him in a wheelchair. Later, when he's painting, Elisa comes into his room and asks for cigarettes. She also makes fun of him for wanting to be an artist. He gets mad and kicks her out before heading to meet Philippe, who is currently asking Yvonne to alter the picture she picked to one of him when he wasn't quadriplegic. She puts the image in the file just as Driss comes in, grumbling about Elisa and telling Philippe he needs to reprimand her, which Yvonne agrees with. Philippe says he will talk to her, but he is primarily startled when Driss says he has been painting. Days go by, and Philippe and Driss's friendship keeps getting stronger. Driss takes him to play in the snow and brings him with him when he goes for a run. Philippe gets him his first suit and yells at his daughter while Driss listens over the baby monitor. When Driss is done with his first painting, he shows it to Monali. She slaps him when he tries to kiss her. Philippe, on the other hand, likes the artwork and says he'll try to sell it. They had a lot of fun together, like getting a faster automobile, sharing marijuana, and even hiring escorts. Philippe doesn't look forward to his birthday too much. Every year, he seems startled that they're hosting a party and has to meet with all these relatives who just come to see him on that day to make sure he's still alive. Philippe feels it will all be quite dull. Driss looks for Elisa while he and the guests listen to some live classical music. Elisa is in her room crying because she took some of Yvonne's medicines, which she thought would kill her, but didn't. She is distraught since Bastien broke up with her and called her a tart. She asks Driss to talk to the lad, and he agrees to do it for a fee. Philippe is showing Driss a painting at the same time and gets him to buy it for 11,000 euros. Driss walks back to the dining area and talks to Yvonne. She informs him that Monali is dating a guy named Fred, but things aren't going well right now, which gives Driss optimism. Philippe makes Driss listen to some of the most important classical music tunes as the celebration starts to wind down, but all Driss can do is crack jokes. He brings his iPod and plays Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind and Fire after the band is done. Then he starts dancing in the middle of the floor. He is an amazing dancer, and he even gets the rest of the party to join him and dance with him, which Philippe adores watching. Driss opens Eleanor's most recent letter to him later, when he is putting Philippe to bed. She sent him a picture of herself, which shows that she is quite lovely, and told him they should meet next week when she goes to Paris. Yvonne and Driss put Philippe through hundreds of costumes on the day of a date until they locate the right one. And because Yvonne is the one who will accompany Philippe to the date, Driss takes his day off to go see Bastien and scare him until the boy agrees to apologize to Eliza and bring her croissants every day. He also tells him to do something about his hair. Then he goes to see his mother at work, but merely to watch her from a distance. Yvonne and Philippe are at the restaurant waiting for Eleanor, who is quite late. Philippe waits for an hour, but finally he gives up and contacts Driss to ask him to come get him. He leaves the restaurant without noticing that Eleanor is also coming at the same time. Philippe takes Driss with him on his own plane that night and gives him the money he made from selling the image. This makes Driss very happy. The next morning, they get to the country, and Philippe decides to go paragliding, bringing Driss along with him. Driss doesn't want to do it, but after freaking out at first, he ends up having fun. Adama is waiting for Driss when he returns home. When he sees the scars on Driss's face, he gets angry. Even though Driss tells Adama to wait in his room while he contacts Mina to tell her not to worry and goes to put Philippe to bed, Adama still won't tell Driss what's going on in his life. But Philippe isn't tired yet. After showing Driss a painting, he questions him about his family. At first, Driss doesn't want to talk about it, but he ultimately caves in. Adama isn't really his brother, and his parents aren't really his parents. They're his aunt and uncle. They brought him from Senegal when he was 8 years old since they couldn't have babies. His original name is Bakary Bari, but they dubbed him Idris because other kids had that name. That name became Driss. One day, his aunt was able to get pregnant, and after his uncle died, there were other men and kids as well. Philippe says that Adama needs discipline, much like Driss talked to him about Elisa. So he fires Driss so he can be with his family because he can't spend his whole life taking care of an old man. Driss gets ready to go the next morning after Bastien brings him his daily croissant and a nicer haircut. Magali arrives to say goodbye, and when Driss tries to hit on her one more time, she introduces him to her partner Fred, which is short for Frederic. Magali isn't interested in males, so Driss gives up right away. He gives Yvonne the baby monitor back as he leaves the house and makes fun of her for lying to him about Magali simply to mess with him. She gives him the escort file he had started, and he is disappointed to learn that the picture he had picked is hidden inside. Driss throws away the file, but he keeps the picture for himself. Once he gets outside, he sees a car blocking the entrance again. He tells the driver to move, even though he doesn't work there anymore. When Adama calls him out on it, Driss explains it's a matter of principle. A few hours later, the two brothers drive to the station to pick up their mother. Back at the house, Philippe is having dinner with his new caretaker for the first time. The caretaker is monotonous and stuffy, so Philippe decides to leave without even eating. No one is present to tell Yvonne to stop going out with the gardener because she is out with him. Driss goes back to his former life as the days go by. He goes back to hanging out with his old buddies and tells the guys in the car that looks suspicious not to bother Adama anymore. He doesn't have enough experience for the job he's applying for, but he gets the job by calling himself pragmatic and using all the art expertise he gained while working for Philippe. He gets a job as a driver because of this. Philippe still doesn't like his new caretaker and is often in a nasty attitude. One night, he won't let anyone in the home help him with his phantom pain, so Yvonne contacts Driss and asks him to come over. That's how they ended up in the scenario they were in at the start, with the police chasing them and then taking them to the hospital. After that small trip, Driss drives Philippe to the beach, and seeing the ocean calms him down. Driss trims Philippe's long beard and then brings him to lunch at a restaurant. He doesn't remain, though, because someone else will be with Philippe today. Driss bids him luck and gives him back his egg before departing. Philippe starts to worry about being alone, but then he realizes that his date is Eleanor, who is happy to see him and doesn't mind the chair at all. The genuine Count Philippe Pozzo de Bourguignon lives in Morocco, where he has 2 daughters and has remarried. The real Driss, who goes by the name Ablyazmin Sela, runs his own business and is married with 3 kids. The 2 men are still extremely good friends. To see more videos like this, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.